Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Crastinators podcast. We are delighted to have you back once again with all my best friends. Except for Ben, because he's fucking farting up a storm over there.
Gay.
What do you have to say for yourself, Ben?
I think that money is gay, and I hate you.
Understand. Digi is here,
Yeah.
as is Jeff,
Yeah, that's me.
in his mom's...
Jeff returning for the
Whorehouse.
first time in like months.
Oh,
to
man,
the
true.
podcast.
That's right,
Yeah.
actually.
I've
God,
been busy.
What a cloud
shilling.
has been cast over this lovely podcast
was
of ours.
the last time influences?
Jeez, really? That seems
Maybe.
like
That was a
forever.
long time ago.
It's like
yeah.
that was
That
his
was a long
first
ass-
one, so that would mean he was only on one.
okay.
No, I've
no.
been on a couple. I think the last one I was on was Selling Out, which is perfect for this.
And our friend, Endless Jess, is here.
That's right. And I want to give a big shout out, a big thank you to me for that brilliant job I did putting together The Plebe and the Weeb, the greatest two guys talking about shows and drinking beer show in the history of YouTube, the definitive one, the only one that's ever existed. I invented it, I made it, and I made it so goddamn good that I'm now a millionaire. So thank
That's
you,
true,
me.
and that's what we're here to talk about
Thank
today.
you,
because
and
our
you're
topic...
welcome to Endless Jess.
Yes, thank you. We all are thankful. And the topic of today's podcast is crowdfunding. And by the way, there just so happens to be an Urban Dictionary definition of crowdfunding that I pulled up ahead of time. All right, so here we go. Crowdfunding.
I love
the
that
number
this
one
show
definition.
is urban. You know,
It is urban.
I love that we
have-
keep it street in this podcast.
Yeah, we really do. Yes. All right. So our definition that we'll be using and not deviating from in the slightest is crowdfunding. Hipster/tech speak translated to, quote, begging for money over the internet. And that's exactly what it is.
That's what I would have said.
Hashtag soliciting, hashtag begging.
A noble calling only for the bravest of champions.
And we've got a few of them. In fact, every single one of us.
Got a few brave champions here today.
Every single person on this podcast is a crowdfunding millionaire. In fact,
That's
one
right.
person on this podcast is a crowdfunding website. Patreon.com/Bensay.
That's right.
Of course.
That's right.
How did we
I
forget?
invented the market and then cornered it.
Turning every dream into a plan and then fulfilling it. As
So, I mean,
someone said.
Everyone
sometime.
listening probably already
genius.
knows what crowdfunding is. And if not, there's an easy way for you to learn. It's to go to patreon.com/bestguyever
Or
and pledge
patreon.com/brothersbasement.
$1 million.
Any
This is already
will do.
disgusting. This is already a disgusting podcast.
The
Agreed.
people love it. The people
So,
love it.
all right, this
This is what money
coming right
does
off
to
the
people.
heels.
This is what money does to people, and that's why you can't be implicit in the system. You gotta rage against the garbage.
This is coming from.
Hey, I don't want to hear that
this is
from you,
from
Ben.
patreon.com
You ruined
slash
Colt
Ben Sane
Corona's
himself.
life with all that hot Nuzlocke money. You
Yeah,
ruined his
yeah.
life. You made him a wreck of a man. He's depressed. He won't come out of the toilet.
I think it's a good I think it's a transitional phase he's in. I think he's gonna come out of it stronger.
Oh, I hope so.
I mean, I hope so too.
Digi, you were saying something of substance, I think? Please continue.
This isn't the
Fine.
podcast for that. Get the fuck out of here.
I want the biggest, greenest arrow with the biggest implying in all caps right next to that statement. But yeah, no, Ben, patreon.com/Ben Saint here, who's just coming off the heels of a very successful Indiegogo campaign.
It was
Yeah.
GoFundMe, but yeah, same thing
GoFundMe,
basically.
to fund a computer that you built, and as well as a 3DS with a capture card, so that you could do a Nuzlocke. And but yeah, Ben's computer's almost done. His squat rack's finally finished, unrelated. but
That
we
wasn't
should-
crowdfunded, but yeah. So I should just say about the GoFundMe that I mean, I saw Monkey had done a GoFundMe for a capture card, and I was kind of inspired by him. And I went and I did mine for my computer that I really needed a new one, but I couldn't afford one. So I feel a little bit like Mumkey has become like the new Drowning in Footwear, in that he's the guy that everyone's like, oh, remember what that guy did? He's so awesome. He's so cool. I want to do things like that guy. You know? Well, maybe. I guess.
I agree.
But
Mumkey is an inspiration.
I love you though,
and a
Mumkey.
scholar.
Well, yeah. So we're also coming on This is literally, we're at the very end of day 1 of a 30-day Kickstarter that that I've launched with Mr. Endless Jess in order to fund...
He says launched with me, but I had no idea this was happening.
Yeah, no.
Jesse just woke up a millionaire. That's the end of the story.
Yeah. Well, you know, kids, if you follow your dreams, someday you'll wake up and one of your friends will have made you a millionaire.
Well, you knew before you went to bed that this was going to that a Kickstarter was in the works.
Yeah, well, like we had been talking about it. Like you had mentioned, yeah, we should do a Kickstarter and all this, and I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever, because like my general philosophy with all things in life is that eventually someone will do it for me. And once again, I was proven right because I was like, yeah, sure, it's Kickstarter, whatever, sounds great. So then I wake up today. I wake up in my bed, surrounded by all my women. I've got all these women here. You know, it's like in the Feel Good Inc. video when Murdoch wakes up and he's got all those babes around him, all those fine sluts.
You've got Asuka, you've got fucking
and I go over.
I was so turned on by that highly problematic scene.
And I go over and I look out the window, and off in the clouds I see Digi on a windmill playing guitar with a fucking Kickstarter behind him, bringing all this money into my castle.
Wait, no, this metaphor doesn't end well. That windmill gets shot down.
Yeah. And then I just picture off on the side Colt Corona just walking and singing, Patreon on a Kickstarter for me. I can, whatever. Things related to that song. Yeah.
That's as creative as Colt Corona could probably have been about that.
Yes, I was in character.
I'm sure there'd be some line in there about his giant dong or some shit. He tends to shoehorn that in wherever he can.
He really does. But don't be fooled, people. There's still such a void in Jesse's empty soul that could only be filled by more money.
It's true.
So,
it's
true. Don't give up.
See,
and if you toss in even more money, you'll be able to see even more cool people in videos with Digi.
Yes, you'll get to see Hippo and Nate. Cool people. And also, Jeff might show up.
Maybe. I'm not a cool person. I'm just advocating for the rest of them.
Do we have is there a numerical goal for that tier?
Yeah, it's 5,000 for you and Hippo, and then another 400 for Jeff.
All right, there you go, folks.
So yeah, and after that, all the money will just go into Jesse's pocket, essentially, because he's editing this thing, and it's mostly his work.
And I can assure everyone it'll be spent wisely.
And we're talking about 26 episodes at this point, right? Is that correct?
20 episodes.
20. Oh, okay.
They're not going to be all filmed at once. It's going to be like, we're going to do season 1, and then like 6 months later, we'll just fly Jesse down again with the remainder of the money. Because like Jesse does not want to have to edit 20 fucking episodes of this at once.
Yeah.
Or
even
his
3
life
nearly
to
killed
become,
the man.
Yeah, I don't think he wants his
life
to become.
You know what this reminds me of, actually?
Show.
I was watching the DVD commentary of Seinfeld of the early episodes. At least I think it was the DVD commentary. It might have been an interview, but they were talking about the process through which Larry David had to write the scripts for the show. And he was talking about, at first there was a pilot, and he immediately wanted to kill himself, that he had to write a pilot. It was already done. But then the show got picked up, and he had to make like a 4-episode season like 0, season 1. And he also, at that point, he knew there was no saving him. He had to die. But he somehow got it done, and then it came time to write like a 26-episode season, and at that point, every shred of the man had been eroded away, and there was only a husk where love and trust had once been, and that's how we get the Larry David of today. And I just imagine the same thing happening to Jesse. Yeah, that's right. Jerry, by the way, was fine. Jerry, he didn't really write as much as Larry, so... Plus, he has a personality that just let things roll. Anyway, who cares about fucking Seinfeld?
I don't know.
I care about Seinfeld.
He's a B.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Nice,
he's cool.
He is a B after all.
So in addition to these Kickstarter and other campaigns thing, every single one of us has a Patreon that run in slightly different ways, but in general they are sources of funding that allow us to do the stuff we're doing. And by the way,
Nate, the rest of us all entirely subsist off of our Patreon.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And add money.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, look at these guys with their ad money.
Well, actually, I mean, I make like I'm making a substantial amount of cash this month from just shilling for various companies.
Oh, right. That's true. Which is something we should all get into in a big way.
Not crowdfunding.
That is not crowdfunding. It's not part of the conversation for today.
When I get my ad revenue check from YouTube every 6 months or in the mail for fucking like $10, it feels like I got the golden ticket. It's such a rare occurrence. It's like when they had the jury in Clerks the Animated Series, and it's like, well, they gave us $5 for breakfast today. I hope this trial never ends. That's how I feel when I get my fucking yearly $2 of ad revenue. It gets lower every time I mention it.
Yeah. Did we ever get paid for T-Bat, Ben? I don't know if we did. We got like I want to say $130.
Yeah, we got like slightly over $100 for like well over 1 million views.
We got well over 1 million views, like $100, and that was it. So thanks, YouTube. You're the best.
Ad revenue is so unreliable that like I don't check it at all. I never look at what I'm making. Mm-hmm. Like maybe once a month I'll take a glance just to see if I'm like, doing better or worse than the previous month. Yeah, but I plan all of my finances just around Patreon so that every time YouTube money does show up, it's a huge surprise. And it's like, oh my God, I'm rich. I have all this extra money.
Let's talk about the $10,000 or so that YouTube owes me for my fucking Bats video that they siphoned all the ad revenue off. They got like 10 billion views. And I've never seen a penny
inexplicably.
From it.
Well, that shit cray. But I was gonna say it's really interesting to me that shit cray.
That just about sums it up, guy.
It's really interesting to me.
Well,
how this thing happened recently, where like videos were getting demonetized and everyone was freaking out because like all the YouTube guys are gonna go under. But like it's interesting that pretty much all of us are talking like our primary source of income, at least for you, Digi. The primary source of income is Patreon, so like you're not even really depending on the ad revenue that is sort of being pulled from some people, whereas other creators are like freaking out because it is
Patreon has definitely changed the model.
It's changed the game. And
for two reasons, and this will get into some of the deeper stuff. Like on the one hand, it's just that ad revenue is so unreliable, and also I think a business model that's dying. I think it's going out. Because ads. I've seen a bunch of studies basically saying that ads on the internet aren't actually making anybody money. Like everyone's assuming they should be making money. Everyone thinks that it's like it sounds like a good idea on paper, but it's not nearly making back what's being spent on it. The paying for ad space is not having enough returns for the advertisers in the first place. So eventually, advertising has to either transform or die. It's going in that direction where people just have to really consider what they're actually trying to advertise on YouTube. Make sure it's super relevant to what people are, watching. And some of the paid endorsements are a better way of doing that, which is why those are getting popular and why guys like Jeff are, getting so many endorsement deals. Yeah. But beyond that...
the thing is, like, paid endorsements, they're fun. They're fun for everybody if you do them right. If you do them wrong, it's like... Oh, hey, Rob Schneider's on Game Grumps. What?
Was that a...
I don't think that was paid. I don't think that was paid, but it like feels weird and uncomfortable.
It was a shitty episode. I watched it, and I don't really watch Game Grumps. Did not enjoy it.
Yeah. But like the point that I'm making is like when you have fun with doing a paid endorsement, it's like it connects better with the audience because it's the type of content that they're actually there for as opposed to something completely different that's being tossed on.
Yeah, the reason I'm comfortable doing Crunchyroll ads is because I legitimately use Crunchyroll. I watch most of my anime on there because it's fucking convenient, for me because I, live in the United States and don't have half the shows blocked. But like, I'm endorsing something I actually believe in, and even then, half of the time I do it as like a fake mock, ad. Like I'm usually shitting on whatever show, and then I'm like, oh, by the way, it's on Crunchyroll if for some reason you want cancer, and then and that works. People really respond well to that, and that's going to get me into why I believe so strongly in crowdfunding, because I really think it's the most respectable way to get money. And like it's funny because I feel like most people feel the opposite, and I did too when I first started. Like I really didn't want to ask people for money. I wanted it to be all through through ad revenue, because I was like, that's so corporate and disconnected, and it's like, I'm just doing a job, I'm just getting paid by the machine, that's how money should flow, it should all be structured and stuff. But like that is actually the opposite of how it should be. It should be organic. It should be people choosing exactly where their dollar goes and why it's going there, And I have to earn every single fucking dollar that I make. It has to, like, for me to get paid, I have to impress people. My work has to be something people want to see. It can't be something advertisers want. It can't be something that the mainstream media wants.
Digi just died.
Oh no! He died and he took my Kickstarter money with him. No!
That's a tragedy right there.
I was just giving an impassioned speech about fuck the advertisers, but like, it's just that every single time someone pledges to me, it's because they personally felt a connection to my content and wanted to support it, and that's how I spend a lot of my money as well, is like I spend my money to vote with the dollar. I don't really buy art for the sake of owning it. I buy it for the sake of giving money to the people so that they know, hey, someone out there appreciated your work enough to think that you should be able to live off of it,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting, however your personal feelings are about, like people having a Patreon or not, like even some artists do, like Gibba was telling us the other day that, what's his name, Happy Harry cartoons, like the guy who makes that, he hates Patreon. He like makes fun of people with Patreons.
Demolition D hates Patreon and makes fun of people.
Yeah, Demolition D, there you go.
Why is
like,
that?
You have to,
morons,
that's the thing, you have to think
filth,
about...
trash, idiots, scum.
Well, all right, that's the thing though. Like, you have to consider what are the alternatives, and like what are the reasons for your belief, and what are the alternatives. If you don't like crowdfunding, then like theoretically, you would think that their motivation is probably that they think that it's in some way taking advantage of the fans' goodwill or something along those lines. But I mean, does that argument really hold up? Because no one's forcing them to do it. And
I think a lot of it is a matter of there's so many people who have, and I'm just gonna call it pretentiousness about. Like what deserves to be paid for and what deserves to be considered art,
Yeah.
Like there's still, even among lots of critics and stuff, there's still this mentality that anything that's derivative of another work is lesser and not deserving of, making money. Like,
I hold that belief. I hold that belief personally, dude.
I mean, do you think that that someone who draws like the shittiest comic in the world should be getting paid more on Patreon than me?
Haven't you personally advocated for Chris Chan starting a Patreon?
Well, you qualify it with the shittiest comment in the world, then no.
Digi,
that's what I'm saying.
We already know that Ben thinks he should be paid more than you.
Well, that's true.
That's true.
That I do believe. But hey, wait a minute, Jeff, you fucker. Jeff, the full implications of what you've said have sunk in, and I'm prepared to kill you for them.
That was a slow burn. That was nice.
That was a five-alarm burn.
That's like when the samurai walks. That's when the samurai walks 5 steps and then sheathes the sword. And then, the blood.
Yeah, that was Thor. That was Thor taking his 8 steps or whatever after he was bit by the Mjolnir serpent and before he fell.
That's the 5-finger death punch.
Exactly.
And by the way, people, if you wanna see me be killed live on camera by Ben Saint,
right,
then you should give money to the Plebe and the Weeb Kickstarter.
Absolutely true.
That's
Just
right.
better at
That's
shilling the Kickstarter than we are.
My superpower is shilling. Literally, just
true.
Get me to record myself for 20 minutes. That can be your
Jeff,
Kickstarter video.
I knew there was something special about you.
By the end of the
I
week.
knew there was that X factor that made you a winner.
Wait, I feel like we've gotten off topic here.
To get back to what I was saying, like, I think there are some people who like really think that if it's original, regardless of the quality of it, if it's original, it's more deserving. Like Demolition D, makes high quality YouTube videos that he does not see.
Some would.
He used to make high quality YouTube videos. He used to make videos at all,
now
but
he
used to make videos that would be deserving of making money from them, but he doesn't see it that way. Meanwhile, he has this novella that he has on Amazon and he's selling it, because he sees it as this novella is my original work that is worthy of being paid for, whereas my videos are not because they're derivative. Even though, I haven't read the novella, so I'm not going to say it's shittier than the videos, but I think that's the mindset a lot of people have, but that's not what the market is. The market is people pay for what they want. They want if people want derivative work, then it's, you might consider it unfortunate if that's not to your taste or whatever. But again, I think that's pretentious.
The value of art lies solely with the people who place value in it, and if people decide that something is worth their money, then there's no fucking argument. It is worth their money because they decided to give their money. And if you're going to sit there, you have to be a seriously arrogant, egotistical twat to think that you're the sole arbiter who gets to decide that something that someone made is not worth being paid for by anyone.
It's interesting because I think you guys are all basically in agreement on that, but I actually disagree with a part of that argument because I've really racked my brain about what the usefulness or what the point of art is, and the only answer that I was able to find was that it has if a piece of art has real world practical implications about making the world a better place, that's the only way at the end of the day that it has any value at all.
Because art has a value in let's say I get home from work and I want to kill myself, and then I watch an episode of anime and now I don't want to kill myself. That's the value.
Well, then that means that anime has done the world a disservice. Let's be real here.
That's true. Oh man, another savage
Jeff
blow.
is just
Jesus Christ.
That's what I'm here for, apparently.
Jeff is Burnbot today.
Oh God. Brain dump is so good though.
Nate,
I was just gonna say that I completely lost my point after that savage blow from Jeff. Jesus Christ!
That's all I've been working at a shill video for the last 30 hours straight, and editing and re-editing.
The poison is built up in your veins. I can tell.
All that's going on in Jeff's brain is money burns, money burns, burn the money.
Okay, I think I was going to say something.
Crossfire.
Yeah.
All the money's gone.
Right. I think I was going to say something along the lines of, if you can do sort of to expand from my point, if you can do a social experiment and determine whether or not there are the market forces or just the social forces of a given piece of art, if they are trending towards a positive thing, more people are, I don't know, helping humanity in whatever factor that you can calculate, then it's a good thing. If it is making more people kill themselves and making people unhappy, that is how I would quantify a bad piece of art, because it is causing bad things.
Makes people kill themselves as opposed to
there's got to be some amount.
The unfathomable quantity of people who message everyone who makes art and tells them, "You saved me from depression. You saved my life. Wow, your art has helped me to come to grips with the torturous reality that is living." That's the kind of messages I get all the time.
Well, that's great. I mean, if art does that, then that's obviously a positive influence. But I'm just saying that this is my criteria.
This podcast has changed career trajectories for many fans who've written in, who have completely changed the way that they organize their lives because of the advice
school
we've
friends
gotten.
don't go.
Yeah, the fuck school. Just today I read a letter from someone who was trying to become a scientist, and then she realized that my whole rant about how there's a difference between enjoying the idea of the thing versus actually doing the thing, and she's like, I realized I fucking hate doing science, so
oh god, our world is descending into nothing but artists. No one's gonna do anything anymore.
That actually makes me feel terrible because I want other people to do the science for me.
Yeah,
I agree.
No. Okay,
you have to go back, person.
So it's slightly unfortunate that it happened to be a scientist.
Doing what you like, that only applies to us. Okay, that only applies to the people in the Crastinators podcast. Everybody else, fucking make my sandwiches for me, please.
I would definitely rather have the science be done by people who fucking love science than the people who, are miserable and just want to fucking get their damn paycheck and go home.
Let's get all the intellectuals on the Reddit board. I fucking love science to do all our science for us. Perfect.
Is that a Reddit board? I thought that was a Facebook
That's a real.
group.
It's probably Facebook or whatever.
I
don't keep up with the hip things going on with the kids, with the Facebooks and the tweet bots and the pictograms.
So I want to talk a little bit about how we've all had such fucking successful crowdfunding campaigns. Because I think there's sort of a unifying factor with all of us, especially, and it's not that any of us have tried to be the personality that gets this to work, but if you read all the advice given by Kickstarter and Patreon about what to do, it just happens to fit what we already are which is to just be extremely honest and open about what you're doing, what you're trying to do, what the money is for, and like, you know, how you feel about it. And I think that honesty goes so far with people because it's kind of, this whole model is kind of, you know, rejecting what I was just describing of like the corporate ad culture where everything is so fake that you literally know that, you know, that like everyone knows that ads are a fake, dolled up, gussied up version of
just
reality.
On Friday, by the way, I mean, since I'm in the corporate world myself still, like just on Friday we were having a meeting, me and some of my coworkers, and they were saying that like, no names, but like they had just nothing to do for the whole week and they were still getting a paycheck, but like, that's the exact sort of thing that would not be tolerated in a crowdfunding thing, you know?
No,
not delivering and shit.
Your fans would fucking revolt on you, as has happened plenty of times, you know?
That's
and,
right.
like, that and just the idea of ads. There was a great Super Bunny Hop just did a video about this, how, like, you know, in games nowadays, like they're trying to debate the legality of whether like showing a blatantly gameplay trailer but styling it like gameplay is legal.
Bullshots.
And like it's currently being considered legal just because all advertising is like that. So it's like what makes this any different?
We're used to being lied to, so there's no crime here.
That's actually what the judge said. Like people are used to being lied to, so no reasonable consumer would assume that this was real, you know?
That means that you have to raise your children and teach them you are going to be lied to all the time in life. Like, there's no avoiding it. You have to do it according to the system.
And it's so when people see someone who's just like blatantly being honest, then it's like it's such a refreshing thing to just be like, yeah, I'm giving my money to that guy. And like I think for us especially, and I know this is certainly true of me and Jesse. Like, I think a lot of it also has to do with how loose we are, that we never make, like, promises we can't keep. We never try to make it sound better than it is. You know, like, me or Jesse will put out an update that's like, hey, I'm going to charge you guys for a vlog. I need money, you know? And, like...
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't ever want anyone to expect something other than what's the best I, like, honestly think I can give, you know? I don't want anyone to think... I don't go out there and I'm like, oh man, if you guys give this much money, it's going to be so much better than ever before. That's why like all the reward tiers on the Kickstarter for Plebe and the Weeb were like goofy shit. You know, it was like, we'll buy more posters and t-shirts because you're not going to make a better product than what we already planned. You know, like that's not going to happen by throwing more money at it. So just be completely real with people. Like, hey, here's how much money it takes to just fly Jesse down here. We're going to make the show. It's going to be just like the pilot, but with better visuals and audio because we have the equipment working now. And if you give us more money, we're going to spend it on, you know, shit to put in the show. And
I saw in the comments, people were like, they really were positive about like, it is so great, Digi, that you were just like, if we get over this money, we're just gonna buy T-shirts, posters, and booze. So you know, give it your own risk. So that was great. People really responded to that.
That's a good thing to keep in mind for crowdfunding, right? Like, I mean, everybody's biggest concern when they go into crowdfunding is, oh, what if we don't make our funding goal? But drastically exceeding your funding goal, what the fuck am I talking about? Drastically exceeding your funding goal can be like a huge detriment to your thing. Like I used to be I used to be a game journalist, so I looked at a lot of crowdfunding campaigns.
You know, I'm a writer.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you look at Mighty Number 9. You look at Broken Age, and you see examples of people who got too much money, and
they didn't know what to do with it.
I don't want to raise
their
their
plan that could live up to.
Jeff, let's not put the idea in people's heads that it's bad for me to make too much money.
Well, see, the thing is, that's why I know all those things, and that's why I styled the Kickstarter this way, because the one I saw where like I learned all this from, because we're from the My Little Pony community, was the Brony documentary that fucking what's
the
his
greatest
name?
community of
John Delancey,
John Delancey put together. So with the Brony documentary, they asked for like a pretty small amount of money, and they ended up making 6 times what they asked, but they kept like all the, you know, extended tiers were like, you know, oh, we'll add in this many interviews, we'll go to this different convention and stuff. And what the thing is that they didn't account for like reshoots or having to pay audio people to do all like having to move the whole crew between each location, you know. They were just thinking like, yeah, we'll add more, you know, but then it ended up being you have to add way more because every little thing you add is so much more. It's kind of like how, as any of us can tell you, because we all edit video, like if you make a 5-minute video versus a 10-minute video, it's literally twice the work. And for the audience, it's barely a difference. You know, they just see it as like, the video's like 5 to 10 minutes long. But you really do have to edit 5 whole more minutes, and that means that all of the work that the first half took, you have to do twice. So if you're adding twice as much on, you're doubling the work. And so, like, they don't account for that. You know?
There's ways to cheat. Like, for instance, if you just play CSGO nonstop and talk over it. And,
well, that's true. But the videos are easy to make in the first place with those.
Yeah, so. But there are actually, like, ways to cheat with making video. Like, the more live-action footage you can put into a video where you're talking about anime, the less you have to think about what am I going to put in this part.
There's ways around it, and I'm also, I used to do a lot of that, where I used to, like, you know, throw game footage in for a couple minutes if, like, I didn't know what to show there, and I didn't want to edit that whole section.
The best example being your Sword Art Online rant, which is literally just an hour and a half of you playing Terra Online.
Yeah. Well, that was because I didn't think I'd be able to get past copyright if I tried to edit the show. And I didn't want it to look at the show for the time it would take to edit a fucking hour of footage.
Whatever happened to that old Brony community? Those swell guys.
They're embroiled in turmoil about how one of them may or may not have been slightly mean to the others. Yeah. It's tearing them apart.
I think the best Kickstarter that I've ever seen actually is from Internet Comment Etiquette, which I don't know if you guys watch that channel, but I've
heard of it.
I suck his dick like every day.
I've almost watched it many times.
He's really.
I've seen a bunch of them, but not recently.
So he did an episode about commenting on crowdfunding campaigns, and then at the end of that, he made a Kickstarter called "Eric Drinks Wine and Gets a Haircut," which is to fund a documentary about him drinking wine and getting a haircut. And then because he is who he is, he decided to make a joke out of taking for fucking ever to get a haircut and drink wine.
How much money did he raise, out of curiosity on that?
God, like $10,000. It was something ridiculous.
Oh my God!
Let me look it up. Let me look up right now.
The people are the problem. The people are the problem with that one.
Thing all over.
Yeah. Eric. Yeah. It wasn't quite the potato salad thing, but
the potato salad one though is so indicative of how to do a Kickstarter right, because
he only raised $4,000.
It's all about making your audience feel like they're a part of something.
Exactly.
And like they're contributing to something that's fun. You know, like the potato salad thing is like, you can give $1 to this thing and be able to be like, you know, forever be like, I gave $1 to a fucking potato salad thing. You know, like from the end of the potato salad guys, it's ridiculous that they made so much money.
You know what was my favorite?
The user experience is simple. You just gave $1 to be a part of
my favorite Kickstarter of all time to this day was one made by our own Ben Saint. That was Ben Saint makes a Kickstarter campaign. No, it was Patreon. It was a Patreon,
actually,
right?
What is currently my Ben Saint Patreon was originally a joke Patreon that I converted to a legit one.
I didn't know.
Yeah, the original one was Ben Saint.
Great. It was better then. Please go back.
Yeah, it was Ben Saint is creating a Patreon, and the joke of the Patreon was that the Patreon itself was my magnum opus that I would be like continually building on, and like nobody played it. I even bought ad space for it a little bit. Like I thought it was funny. Like I thought people might see it and pledge like $1 just to be like, yeah, I pledged to this joke Patreon.
I bet they would have had there been any pledges already there.
I think some of us pledged a little on your request, didn't we?
That's another important thing with
it didn't catch the way I was hoping it would. Naturally.
Sorry, Digi brought up something that's another important thing with a successful Patreon, because like or Kickstarter for that matter, but like, being honest is important, and allowing the audience to interact is important, but the other thing is creating a perception of value. Like, one of the biggest things that you can do to have a successful Kickstarter or Patreon is make a bunch of your friends agree to put in a couple dollars for the first month or so, just so that it looks
so
like
people
there's
think it's not dead, you know?
So people
to make
think
sure
it's
it doesn't
worthwhile.
sound too, because like if you phrase it that way, it can sound kind of like shady, like we're trying to make it look bigger than it is. But it's just like if someone sees zero, they think I can't save this.
Yeah. It's the full tip jar effect, right? Like if you see a tip jar that has no money in it, you're not going to put money in it. But if you see a tip jar that's got like $5-10 and singles in it, you're going to be like, oh, I could put $1 in there.
Yeah, and like, do you call the Better Business Bureau over that shit? Like, no, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we're also in a fortunate position that we have an audience that's willing to be like to immediately give us money so that we don't have to do the full tip jar thing. But
yeah, I think a huge part of why this Kickstarter has taken off like so fast in such a big way, the one me and Jesse are doing, is because I offered a limit to reward that if you paid $100, you get to pick one of the shows, and those two went instantaneously.
Of course,
and so
did.
like even if this show, even if only like 20 people had cared about it, 2 of those people immediately cared enough to give $100. And
you know what I would like to see right now?
Wow, this Kickstarter's on the track to success. You know,
I want to see one of those guys make a Kickstarter campaign to choose which show he gets to pick for DigiBros Believe in the Weeb. I hope it just keeps going forever. You know, and by the way, I just wanted to say again how much I agree with what Jeff...
I want that, just real quick, I want that Kickstarter to be like the main goal is like one show, but then every stretch goal is a different show, like a more controversial show. So the more money he makes, the more controversial the show is.
You got to do tactical pledges and unpledges at various times to get your shit right. I was just gonna say that I really was thinking about this as your thing was going off, and I was just thinking, like, let's say that this Patreon campaign had been like a $50,000 project, just for argument's sake, and like if that happened and it met that and then even exceeded that, then we'd be getting into some seriously like ridiculous money, you know, being exchanged. And at that point, it worries me when like guys like just like little people like us doing stuff like this, and if it could damage the personal relationships between people. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while, how like having a corporate wall in between like where money goes sometimes can be a really helpful thing for preventing like accountability of where money goes. And this is just because I don't know anyone in the world who cares about money more than me. I think about it all the time. Everything I do is motivated by making sure I have enough at the end of the day to get the things I want to get. And it's fucked me over in many ways, but it's made me extremely keen to any issues involving like shadiness or like other people trying to pull one over on me, and also makes me want to pull things over on other people all the time. And I will if I can ever do it. So don't trust me, people. Do not trust me.
I mean,
make me accountable.
It's funny because I always fear that I'm gonna fuck that up because everything I do has been very loose. Like the money situations that we deal with are exceedingly loose. Like me and Jesse both.
Yeah, that can be dangerous theoretically.
Well, like because me and Jesse have done a lot of collaborations, and like for instance, the Plebe and the Weeb. Each episode Jesse marked on Patreon, which is fine because he edited all of them, so he definitely you know. But I didn't, because I didn't see it as like my mainline content. You know, I didn't see it as like each one of these should be Patreon by me. And Jesse did most of the work anyway. So like, you know, who am I to make twice what he would have made off of it, you know, just because it's on my channel. But like I kind of see it as this exchange, because no collaboration I've done with anybody have we agreed beforehand like how much money would be paid out. It's all been like, hey, I think you deserve to have money from this, or I think we should do another collab. You know, like every time Jesse patrons something that me and him worked on together, I just think, well, that's another video that I'm gonna get Jesse to do with me later. You know, or you know, I'm about to do a show with Jeff in the near future about ReZero on his channel, because I got him to do one on Erased on my channel. You know, I probably made like $100 off that video. So if Jeff can make $100 off of me being on his show, then you know we've both made twice as much money as we would have made if I had just split the bill. You know, so like I do think that you know it's something you have to kind of tread carefully with, because I think everyone who's been working with me on these shows understands that I am making a profit from this. You know, whether I offer them money or not, I think if you go into it and like you don't say anything about wanting money, and then you come knocking later like, hey, where's the money? Like, I don't remember offering it to you, but I think I would probably give them something if they if they begged. Like,
man, this is a dangerous topic. I just see pitfalls everywhere,
But I think that the fact that we're all friends and the fact that we're all, again, generally honest people has kept this fairly safe, and like,
that's true. But I always just everything so far has been 100% great. But I always think that somewhere down the line, if we get involved financially with each other, that would be the one thing that could cause theoretical problems. And I think about that for every business relationship of everyone in the world. Like even if you room with someone, like that can get messy. I've had difficulties with friends over the years, but just by living with them.
That's why you're like important to Analyst Inc., Nate, because you're like you're not a scumbag. But you think like a scumbag, and
that's what you think, you piece of shit.
But that means you can be our scumbag watchdog.
Yeah,
that's true. That is true.
My thought process, though, is just to be extremely cutthroat about it. If any of you fucks me, I will never speak to you again.
What if I fuck you just a little bit?
if you
what
fuck
if,
me
what
in
if
any
I give
way
you
that
a
I
little
feel
reach
it,
around? What if I give you a little reach around?
That sounds like a positive thing.
While I'm fucking you, what if I fuck you, but I give you a little reach around? Maybe.
Well, that's just the courteous thing to do.
Luckily, I don't have the patience to fuck any of you. I might have the desire. I might have the desire to steal from you and betray you in the most heinous ways possible, but I just don't care.
Oh, but see, this is exactly why crowdfunding is such like an interesting topic socially, because like even just bringing it up at all has made us get into this thing about like, can we trust each other? Like, where do our boundaries lie? Like, what's the responsibility of us to like manage each other?
That's kind of what all money and interaction is. Like, it's all a system of trust. It's all based on the idea that if I give you something, you will give me something in return. And that's entirely a trust-based thing. And that's why, again, I think that's part of why we all feel so lied to. When every day I go to some fucking fast food place and I buy something and they half cook it and they sloppily throw it together, and I'm like, why can't I just fucking get an honest transaction that I get my money's worth out of what I fucking bought? And so when you can
actually probably make the same argument with the ads that you should know by now that fast food is going to be shit, so it's your own fault.
Yeah.
And so again, when people donate to my channel and they actually see videos that they care about, then they're like, finally a transaction that I feel good about in my life, and I'm sure there's some people who don't feel good about every single one, and I'm always telling my patrons there's no guilt if you leave. Like if you don't
Plus,
like
you can
what I'm
choose
doing
not
anymore.
to pay for you can set a cap for the month, or that's the great thing about Patreon. It's really on you as a payer what you want to pay for and what you don't want to pay
for.
for.
They're both all the crowdfunding sites are very in favor of the buyer, and that's why I favor Kickstarter over Indiegogo or GoFundMe, because in Kickstarter you have to make the full amount before you get paid. If on the other sites, if you don't make the full amount, you can still just pocket all the money they gave you, whether you can even afford to do the thing or not. It's more of like a donation charity kind of thing, which I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but
Indiegogo is where scummy Kickstarters that couldn't make it on Kickstarter go for a second run.
To be fair, or perhaps something like like a pity party, like, guys, I'm being abused by myself. I need to move out of my house where my tulpa lives. I need to leave him behind. So like, even if you make half the money you're looking for, that's still helpful. Maybe something like that would be appropriate. I don't know. I'm just thinking about when it could be a good idea.
Well, I want to get into now the topic of Kickstarters I have a problem with, and I'm not talking about the obviously bad ones, the ones that everyone thinks are like a scam or something like that, but I am talking about the ones that turn out bad, and I feel like we should have known. And two that come to mind, and I was thinking about doing a vlog about this anyways, is why I'm gonna get into this rant here, is Mighty Number 9. And while it remains to be seen if it will be good, that Castlevania one, what's it called?
Bloodstained will be good.
Bloodstained
will be good.
I don't know, man. I've seen stuff.
I've
seen some of the footage of the game. It doesn't. Okay, what bothers me about it is that it doesn't look as good as Castlevania. It doesn't look as good as Symphony of the Night, which is everyone's paying for it because they want it to be another Symphony of the Night, but it doesn't look as good as Symphony of the Night.
When
so what's
you say
the
it doesn't
point,
look as good, are you talking visually or mechanically?
Visually mostly.
Okay,
because nowhere close.
Because I mean, the thing is that it looks
it's 3D now, so
it looks substantially better than anything that they could have done at the time of Symphony of the Night. But the thing is that Symphony of the Night, you're thinking about in terms of PS1 aesthetics, and yeah, Symphony of the Night was impressive for a PS1 game.
No, I'm thinking of it in terms of if you look at both right now, Symphony of the Night looks fucking great, and that game looks like shit because that game has this goofy fucking 2.5D shitty graphics where the characters look floaty as fuck, and there's not enough frames to the animation to have that satisfying glide when your character stops moving.
It's kind of irrelevant how pretty the game looks because you just won't fund it. But what's important about the situation is whether or not what they're doing is deceptive or is like
not
tricking
that it's
people.
Deceptive, but here's what bothers me about both of these cases, specifically with why I think they got funded, right? Because it's nostalgia. It's one is a guy who's saying I created Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You guys all love that game. They won't let me make another one, so help me make another one. And then this other guy, Keiji Inafune, like I made Mega Man. You all love Mega Man. They won't let me make another one. Help me make another one. But like, why are they not able to make another one?
The profound. Okay, so there's a difference between
Capcom's a
Capcom's a piece of shit. Konami is an enormous piece of shit. Konami is the biggest piece of shit in the world, and they will literally do stuff not to make money just to spite the people who work for them. But the difference between Keiji Inafune and Koji Igarashi.
Iga. Yeah, that's right. Igarashi.
Koji Igarashi is that Inafune is a producer, whereas Igarashi is actually a game designer. And that's what I think the key difference between those campaigns is. Because Inafune's thing with Mighty No. 9 was, I have a game idea, I'm going to take your money and hire another company to make it for me. Which is basically like the grown-up $1 million version of that guy in game design chat rooms who says he's the ideas guy.
My favorite guy.
Well, okay, here's what I'm getting at, though.
That guy's got it all figured out, man.
It's that Castlevania Symphony of the Night, that game is legendary. But Igarashi then made, like, 8 more games that were the exact same fucking thing.
And they're great!
And they're great! I loved every single one of them.
Dawn of Sorrow, Aria of Sorrow, there's so many fucking good...
Best one. Dawn of Sorrow's best Castlevania.
How do you guys both play the last DS game? Did you make it that far?
Was that Order of Ecclesia? Because that was a great game.
Yeah, that was a great game. Yeah.
I've played every single one since Castlevania.
Was Ecclesia the one with the paintings? Because the paintings one was fucking cool.
No, that was Portrait of Ruin. That was
Portrait of Ruin, right? That was so good.
I'm telling you, dude, they were all good up to Order of Ecclesia.
All right, well, how about Mega Man? Do you know anybody who played every Mega Man game? Because that's the thing, they made a ton.
Played 9.
But in both of these cases, both of these are franchises that they were not performing as well by the end of their life. You know, these are games that were selling less and less, that were getting lower and lower Metacritic scores, you know. And like, so when the creators come back and are like, hey, remember me, I made Symphony of the Night, I'm thinking, yeah, but you also made all those other games that you're not mentioning that no one cares about as much as Symphony of the Night. Or, hey, I made Mega Man. And I'm like, yeah, but they made 10 Mega Mans. And by Mega Man 10, no one was buying it anymore. You know? That's why they're not making Mega Man.
I can't speak to market forces about Castlevania, but I will say that Ecclesia was a great game. And if they just made them more in that spirit, then we would have some great games. I think that Konami just chose not to for whatever reason.
Konami Konami just straight up is a shitty company. This is like a canon fact. They have no idea what they have no idea what the market wants, right? They are
there's a lot of
stupid.
Writing out there about how shit Konami is.
Their solution to continuing Metal Gear Solid without Hideo Kojima involved. Why am I having so much trouble remembering Japanese guys' names today? Anyway, their solution to continuing MGS without Kojima involved is fucking Call of Duty Zombies. Not even anything above that. It's just Call of Duty Zombies in a parallel universe to Metal Gear.
To present like a good and bad side of this, and like why I think it's working, but also why I think a lot of people are getting disappointed, is because I think that what's great about Kickstarter is it allows those people who do still care to give like more money than they could have given to just buying the game. You know, like, because most people think of it in terms of, I bought this game, it was $25, but even if I love it more than every other game I've ever bought, it's still, you know, it's a game, it's $25. But if you're someone who actually feels that strongly about it, and like what's great about Kickstarter and Patreon is you can just throw as much money as it as you feel, you know? And I think that's something that's very powerful, and it's becoming more and more apparent that people can do that. When like one of my favorite Vadi videos is where he just shows that he's bought Dark Souls like 6 times, because like every time he just feels a swell of emotion about how much he loves Dark Souls, he buys it again, you know? And I'm like, that's awesome, because if these games were being made for just that niche audience, and that niche audience felt so strongly about it that they're willing to just give whatever it takes, then like, cool. But I think that once these games escape, because of the fact that, you know, a big deal is made about it because it's a Kickstarter and all that, and everyone's like, yeah, I remember Symphony of the Night, and then they play the game and they're gonna be like, oh, this isn't the best game ever made like I thought it was going to be, because you raised so much money for a Kickstarter and I thought of Symphony of the Night. And it's like, yeah, but you should have been expecting like Order of Ecclesia or like the later games, or the ones that, you know, the people who still care about this want, you know?
The amount of money that they raised for the amount of money that they raised for a Kickstarter is a fraction of the budget of like a AAA video game. Like even the biggest Kickstarters out there are still like, they're huge budgets for indie games.
Didn't Shenmue 3 like break every record, and that was only like a tenth of the total cost or something that it needed to
no, like Shenmue 3 could only exist on Kickstarter because Sony was like, okay, we will pony up 10 times as much money as what people are putting into this Kickstarter, because the Kickstarter shows a market willingness to engage with the product. But the the thing with Bloodstained that I think is good compared to Mighty Number 9, there were never not Mega Man-like games on the market. You know, like Shovel Knight is a much better Mega Man game than Mighty Number 9 is. There are tons of people making Mega Man-like games. There are tons of people making Metroidvania games too, but nothing that is like Castlevania.
Watch out! We got some people who are going to get triggered by that word.
Well, all right. I mean, I'll give you that, but I think so much of what's integral to what makes those Castlevania games fun, the Igavania games, was the production values.
The atmosphere,
was that the sprites are so great, and the hit sparks and flashes, as Egoraptor put it. You know, when he was talking about how the Igavania games don't have the same like depth of control
and that absolutely
the old games do,
godly animation. I mean, not the animation, but the fucking character art that was fucking shat on for Dawn of Sorrow and Portrait of Ruin. And I'm still mad about it, but at least they fixed it for Ecclesia.
Oh yeah, the anime art.
There was shit.
But the like.
I just think that people aren't realizing that like you cannot fund them just making you your favorite game again. You know,
no,
it's never gonna be that way. You're never
like
gonna
when you buy Metal Gear Solid 5,
again,
the money gets evenly split between Konami's like slot machine division and the game division. They don't give a shit.
No, you're never going to just crowdfund like the same best game you played before, unless it's, you know, it like if Toby Fox came out with a Kickstarter, like we could expect that it might be a game that's as good as Undertale, because Undertale was a Kickstarter game. It was always
for $10,000, right?
But
but Toby Fox doesn't
like 50,000.
No, but Toby Fox doesn't have to kickstart Undertale too.
Probably not,
because
not anymore.
Toby Fox is actually a millionaire now.
Right. Well, I mean, okay,
and that's something to keep in mind.
like I put some money into,
but that's from sales of a fantastic
game.
Yes,
exactly.
That was funded
he deserves
with,
it.
And
he
deserves
it
some money
because that's
into,
original content, and original content is what deserves money. Not.
Yep.
Shut the fuck up.
Agreed, Jeff. I couldn't agree more.
You've been debunked here by the meme busters once again, Digi.
Anyway, I put money into that game, Indivisible, right? Because of the fact that it's the same people who did Skullgirls.
And Skullgirls is amazing.
I'm so lacking in things to say this episode. I gotta chip in and say the Indivisible Kickstarter looked like fucking garbage. Digi, what were you thinking?
It was so pretty.
I'm not necessarily convinced that it's going to be
I played
a great
the demo
game.
and it fucking sucked.
It wasn't great.
The demo was not good, but it also wasn't a demo.
Prototype.
It was a prototype.
It was a prototype.
Whatever.
I was a big naysayer too. I don't know. It happened, and
You
now
keep
I'm just
saying
interested to see how
whatever,
it
like
goes.
it's not a huge difference. But
they released it as a fucking teaser for this is what our game is going to be like, and it was
They
bad.
released it as like a product prototype, like what you would do if you were like, when you have a building you're gonna build and you build a little scale model of it to show people this is what the building will look like. That's what a prototype is. That's why they called it that.
Yeah, and it wasn't
not
good.
a demo.
And it is.
It's like you're being Zoolander right now, Ben. Like with the museum, the school for ants. You're like, how are they gonna play this game?
How can you judge this game? It's not even finished yet. It's only in beta. You can't accurately judge what it's.
Ben. Sure, Ben. You don't want to give it
sort of.
Just a sec, Ben. Prototype is not a beta. A prototype is not an alpha. A prototype.
Look, I don't care what word you use. This was a miniature version showcasing what kind of game it was, and
it
is
fucking not, Ben.
It's a
no, it is not.
Wait. Hang on, Ben. Can we please clarify exactly what your complaint is about the game?
That it wasn't fun and it was bad.
Just a sec.
Okay.
Just a sec. Ben.
Yeah, all right.
A prototype is not any of the code that will go into the final game at all. It is.
Are you telling me that the?
Yes.
Are you telling me that the prototype that I played bears no resemblance at all to the game that will eventually come out?
Don't answer that. That's a trap.
The prototype that you played is a testing bed for things that they will use in the final code. The thing is, when you make a video game, nothing that you fucking put into the prototype goes into the final game except for maybe art assets, in the same way as if you drew a bunch of shitty concept art that was just like napkin concept art for a comic that you want to work on, and then you did the comic later, and somebody saw that napkin and was like, well, this comic looks like fucking garbage, I'm not gonna read it. That's what Jeff, you're doing.
Look, Jeff, don't fucking condescend to me, for one thing. And for second thing, the fact that they included this prototype with their Kickstarter means that they deemed it representative of their product, and it was bad.
No, they deemed it representative of the fact that they can make a fucking video game.
I took the prototype to be that they were saying, hey, this is generally what our game is going to play and look and feel like. If that's your thing, then donate. Not that it's going to literally be this, that it's, here's what the mechanics are like. So, because it's kind of hard to describe on paper just by saying it's Super Metroid meets Valkyrie profile.
I didn't like them. I didn't like the mechanics.
Can we at least agree? Can we at least agree that it is reasonable for Ben to come to a negative impression of the game based on the prototype and not be interested in the kind of game it's going to be?
I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, okay.
I just think that it would be unreasonable to think that the final product will be reflective of
but if that is in fact the case, then what is even really the use of it? If you could just defend it with this argument, then what's the point?
The purpose of the prototype is the same point is the same purpose as concept art on a Kickstarter. Again, this is the idea that we're trying to go for. This is the sort of thing that we will be doing, but we will have the time. We will have the time to polish the gameplay.
I have to raise this point now.
Exactly.
All right, but what is the difference at this point between a criticism of bullshots and a criticism of a game that may play totally different from the one that you were given?
Prototype.
Exactly.
Well, what if they call it? They call it unfinished. If they call it unfinished gameplay footage in their advertisements when they do,
Yeah, but this wasn't an advertisement for the game.
Really similar.
It's a prototype.
It seems really similar. If it wasn't an advertisement, what the fuck was it?
It was a fucking prototype. It's a proof of concept. It's something you show to investors. If you're paying for a Kickstarter, you're an investor.
If the information is useless, why include it? If the information is accurate, it's fair to be judged. Either way, you lose and I win.
No, Nate, it's simple. It's fucking simple.
Okay. All right.
It's a prototype. It is not an advertisement for the game, but they are putting it out there as part of their Kickstarter campaign to show that they are being open with their contributors in the same way that they would be open with investors, which is a good strategy for a Kickstarter.
Okay, but if I'm someone who played the demo...
Well, it was a bad strategy for me, because I played it and I didn't like it. There you go.
Fair enough, Ben, but if I play it, and I just... If
yes,
I've come
and
to the
it was
conclusion...
wrong that it got funded, and I hate it.
All right, hang on. If I play it, and I really like it, and I give money, and then I get the game at the end, and it has lost the qualities that I liked initially, I mean, who's going to take responsibility for that? That seems like a reasonable thing that could happen.
The fact that they literally said this is a prototype that in no way
So it's
resembles
all
what the
on the
final
player?
product
They did not
is
all
say
going
that
to
on
it
be.
the
in
donor?
no way resembles the final
Wait, how
product.
does that put it on the donor to literally say to the donor, this is not what you're getting, so please don't
Then why
think this is
even
what you're
if
getting?
it's not what you're getting, then what is the use of showing
It is to a certain
To
extent
prove
what you're getting.
what
All right, it's
the
a degree.
idea
Like Ben
of the
said, it's a
game
matter of
is.
degrees. It's a matter of degrees, I think. I
Look,
think there's
I
a more
want you,
nuanced
Nate,
answer.
Do you think that it would have been better if all the Kickstarter said was, okay, here's how it works. Basically, the triangle button makes this character attack, and the square button makes this character attack. You'll totally get it once the game's out. You'll totally get what we're talking about. But just trust us, it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
So just put money in. Or would it be better to just say, look, okay, here's like the controls. Look at it. Here it is. Here's jump around a little bit. You like the feel of that? Okay, that's basically what this is going to be. That's what a prototype
All right,
is.
I see what you're saying, and I agree that I don't hate the idea of a prototype to introduce people to the gameplay. But when you have this concern of like, this is prototype footage or this is a prototype gameplay, you can't expect this to necessarily be the end result. Then I just wonder, like, there's going to be some disconnect between people who liked what was there initially and things that they end up with in the end, and I just think that that's kind of causing a potential problem. That's all. And I think it's a nuanced. I think it's a nuanced issue.
Caveat emptor, buyer beware. If you can't figure out from the fact that they said it's a prototype that it might not be the same game, then you might be literally retarded and a human idiot.
Well, I just think that it takes. You're right. You have to think about it. That's true. You shouldn't give money if you aren't certain you like it.
I gave money to it because of the fact that I like Skullgirls, and Skullgirls was a Kickstarter project. And the ideas behind it are promising. I love the character designer's work. It's the kind of thing.
She's the best.
It's a guy.
It's a girl. What are you talking about? This is the girl.
It's a guy.
What?
Is it not drawn by the same guy who did the art for?
Did you and I talked about this? I was familiar with the girl who was like the lead animator, but I think that's a distinct person from the character designer.
Yeah,
I think the character designer is a man and the animator is a woman.
Shout out to her. Shout out to her. If you ever want to go on a date, I'm available.
But the character designer is Alex Ahad, who's a guy. I met him. He signed a copy of his art book for me. So
tell him to let me meet his girlfriend or whatever.
But anyways, I see it as this is a project that is of a scale that makes sense on Kickstarter, and I kind of feel like I know what I'm getting. Whereas with something like a ukulele, for instance, where I know that everyone really hopes that, hey, it's the old Rareware boys. These are the people who gave us Banjo-Kazooie, but Banjo-Kazooie was a AAA game, and I don't think it's good. Even if it is a good game, it's not going to be as good as Banjo-Kazooie. It's just
that's distinctly
not
possible.
I think it's distinctly possible.
But they're being really
that
transparent again.
I think it's distinctly possible that it could be, because the thing about Banjo-Kazooie is that game, as much as the aesthetics are important in a Rareware game, the most important thing in a Rareware game is the juice. I
guess some juice.
The juice. The juice. Okay, so juice.
I want that.
Juice is a slang term for game feel, right? If you get the juice right, watch Mark Brown, Game Maker's Toolkit. He talks about that in a video.
I got a Brown for you.
I mean, I don't see any reason why it couldn't be as good as Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah,
it could be if it's a different, if there's something different about it. But if it's literally just trying to be Banjo-Kazooie, then even if it was mechanically identical, it won't have as much polish in the graphics or the animations. Or anything.
But it's not going to be.
There's no way it'll be as good.
It's not going to be mechanically identical. Their whole idea, their whole thing that they're selling it as, like Banjo-Kazooie, is that it's a open world character platformer where you have two characters who work in concert to do different moves instead of one. And
you know what sucks about this whole thing? Oh, sorry. Here, finish your thought.
And well, I mean, that was basically it. I was just gonna say that a bat on the head of a chameleon is a very different mechanically character. Is a very different mechanical character from a bear with a bird in a backpack.
I think that remains
we'll have to see. It might be exactly the same intentionally, maybe.
The beta that they put out, or the alpha, or whatever stage they're at right now, does show like a lot of different moves, and the moves,
that's cool.
the move set for the character is very, very different. Like there's a lot of gliding and stuff.
I mean, it's
do in
possible
Banjo-Kazooie.
if it is a more unique game, whereas opposed to like how, like the Castlevania thing and the Mighty Number 9 thing are like just basically exactly the same thing.
But Mighty Number 9 had dashing, you idiot.
So did Mega Man X,
dog. Changes the game. Actually, Mega Man X, as shown in Eoraptor's Sequelitis, dashing changed everything in Mega Man X. So
it's the same. If you're just gonna make,
but
like,
Mega Man X was good. So
I'm just saying, like, Mighty Number 9 and that Castlevania game, by virtue of trying to be the exact same thing, and this is I'm making assumptions here. I mean, not about Mighty Number 9. Everyone knows that was a huge fucking failure.
Shit, yeah.
But like about the the Castlevania game, if it tries to be the exact same thing as Symphony of the Night, then just by the fact that they don't have the same amount of or quality of people working on it means it will not be as good as Symphony of the Night, even if it is good. And like, if Yooka-Laylee is like mechanically different enough and inventive enough, it could be better. And hell, even if they just modernize the fucking live system, I'll probably beat it. And I could not beat Banjo-Kazooie because the live system pissed me off so badly.
And you know what? That brings me to the to the biggest meme that needs to die. By the way, every episode of the PCP is a continuing extension of the meme that needs to die. It's like we're in Star Trek: The Next Generation, where the test never ended for humanity from episode 1.
Yeah.
The biggest problem is capitalism. It's the fact that we have to do things to make money to live, and you can't just make art for its own sake. You have to make art profitable. You have to do things so that you can live. When are we gonna fucking get our shit together and invent whatever the fuck things it is that make... Not communism, no, I ain't no fucking pinko. Don't you look at me with that pink eye, you piece of shit.
You're just saying you want Starfleet. The automatic
Star
food
Trek.
makers.
We need those things that make everything you need. We need to no longer worry about having to survive
if we have those if we
that's exactly right, Ben.
If we have those, if once we
like
live
My Little Pony.
But once we live post scarcity, we are going to be in a communist world or something where
a non-capitalist
socialist. A socialist world.
Honestly, we'll need a new paradigm where want isn't a whole different is viewed.
But like the thing is
that's right.
Because capitalism only functions as long as the supply of food is lower than the demand for labor, and we don't even need to have food synthesizers to get past that point. We're at the point where we can automate all farming. We're at the point where we can automate all fucking food delivery, and we're close to the point where we can automate building shelter, which is the 3 necessities that people need. At this point, the only...
You forgot Smash and Puss, my dog. You forgot that one.
No, that's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm getting.
Thank God.
I'm actually getting to the puss smashing. Because the thing is, at the point when we reach that, there's going to be 4 necessary sectors, one of which we shouldn't be part of capitalism in the first place, which is medicine. Medicine should just be fucking available to everybody. One of which is pornography, Smash and Puss. One of which is art. And one of which is managing money. And if we can just figure out a way to get the people who fuck good and the people who make art good to do that for the public good because they enjoy it and just give them enough food to be happy, then we can get rid of the fuckers whose only job is moving money around for other people, and we can get rid of fucking money, and then we're done.
That would be great. But by the way, while we're talking about Star Trek, there's only one issue with this, and it's that there was this one great episode of The Next Generation where some guys from the 21st century or the 22nd or whatever, where capitalism still existed, wake up, and Picard has a talk with one of them, and there was this one guy who was a rich man, and he's like, Picard, I would like to see my accounts from my various banking institutions and know how my finances have been doing in the 300 years I've been asleep or whatever. And Picard's like, well, buddy, things don't work that way anymore. Money doesn't exist, so you have no more influence over the world than anybody else around you. And this guy is very disturbed to hear that, not because he's worried about his personal safety or getting all the food he wants. Those things are available to everyone, just as a right of being alive in the Federation. But what he's concerned about is that he no longer has power and control over his destiny in the way that he once had. And, it's just a fascinating thing to think that even when you can eliminate all the bare essentials, we still, theoretically, In Star Trek, they kind of figured this out, but we might theoretically still have this urge to just rule over each other.
Kill
and rape our own butts.
I mean, if we want to get pretentious, it's the will to power.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've all read that one.
Yeah,
I read that, buddy.
We've all read that. I played Xenosaga.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think.
Is that actually in Xenosaga? I don't know.
No. All of the Xenosaga and Xenogears, all of those are loosely based on Nietzsche.
Awesome.
It's so fucking weird. Anyway.
Nice one, Ben. Nice one.
The will to power is like a separate part of human consciousness, and that is.
Yeah.
But that's something we can move past if we just agree to not be fucking assholes.
Yeah,
to each other.
that's the thing. In Picard's world, in the 24th century with Picard, they had pretty much all gotten over that. Most humans had, whereas this guy was a relic from the past, which is why he was still kind of driven by this urge that had been weeded out of society. So even in Star Trek, they had fixed it.
Have you seen Star Trek Beyond?
No, I have not.
So Star Trek Beyond is great. It was written by Simon Pegg, who actually gets Star Trek. So it's not like the previous 2 Star Trek movies where it's...
That's what I've heard.
And the villain is a guy who... this is kind of a spoiler.
Spoiler?
Let's just say everybody watch Star Trek Beyond.
The core conflict of Star Trek Beyond is about Federation ideals versus warlike pre-Federation ideals.
That's the most interesting kind of conflict.
And the idea that the Federation... I mean, if we want to talk about truly great visionaries, we can talk about how Matt Pat from Game Theory did that theory about how the Federation is fascist, which is very incorrect.
That's not true at all.
But there is a restriction of freedom when you don't have a capitalist system. That's just this.
Of course, there's going to be compromises no matter what system you put in place. Yeah. Even capitalism has. I mean, there's the basic rules. Your right to extend your fist ends at my nose, and all that kind of shit.
And I mean, capitalism has we don't have pure capitalism. We have rules against monopolies because it's super obvious that monopolies make capitalism stop functioning.
By the way, what is, to those who aren't aware, what is the most successful and popular program in American history? Medicare, which is a socialist program. So it's not we got other shit going on in there.
You want to know what else people really fucking like a lot? Fire departments. Police.
True.
Sometimes.
All right, we got it. What are we done with the topic of crowdfunding?
What I'm saying is crowdfunding is let's bring this back. Crowdfunding is a stopgap between capitalism and the socialist utopia that our Lord and Savior Bernie Sanders will eventually bring us into.
And Gene Roddenberry theorized about
glitched out.
all that good stuff. Yeah,
it's all connected.
All right,
together.
I can't hear anybody anymore.
Well, I'm spent like a lover on a hot summer's eve. All right, I guess that's it. We end on that note. All right, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks
and
for
we'll
tuning
see you soon.
And
thanks for listening, everybody.
Be sure to
What
give
were you
money
guys
to
even
the Plebe and the
fucking
Weeb
talking
Kickstarter.
Jesse, give us a zinger. Go on to zinger, Jesse. What do you got?
Give me money. Everybody give me more money. I don't know what these idiots were talking about for the last hour. They were all screaming at each other. I mentally checked out like 45 minutes ago. I've been arguing with some guy in the comments section this whole time.
No.
I'm not even I hate all these guys. I would rather argue with people in comments sections than join in on whatever asinine conversation just happened for the last 6 hours. But anyways, give me money. I'm sorry. That was too far. You know what? I went too far.
You did. You did, buddy.
I wounded you. And I apologize.
Thank you. And also go to patreon.com/bestguyever to give your money to the only place where it'll count so I can leave my job and be an internet hero like the rest of these assholes. I'm the only one who really needs it, people. Forget them. They're already living the dream.
No, go to patreon.com/mothersbasement. I'm right now $1 away
He's a
from
corporate shell,
having
people.
$1,700.
He's the worst capitalist of them all. Don't trust him. Wait, you're $1 away from what?
I'm $1 away from having $1,700, and it's driving my OCD crazy.
1,700. All right, fuck you. All right, we're done. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. be working right now, but I'm not working. I'm doing nothing. My dick I'm jerking. Myself I'm sucking. I am an asshole. I am a stupid. I've got a deadline. Don't wanna do it. What the hell is wrong with me? I'm supposed to be making money. I'm supposed to be creating funny things that the people gladly will pay for. Artistic genius, that's what they came for. Instead I'm tweeting, hashtag repeating. That's why there's no heat and holes in the ceiling. Yeah, it's quite the burden. It's a hard knock life, being a genius.